Good morning, grade 3. Today we're going to continue with our reading comprehension lesson entitled The Fantastic Undersea Life of Jacques Cousteau. Remember in part 1 we said that Jacques Cousteau was a weak and sick boy who suffered a bit in his childhood. So the doctors advised him to swim in order to build up his strength. Then his friend gave him a pair of goggles, those protective glasses that you cover your face with when you want to dive. And this pair of goggles changed his whole life. All right. Today we're going to read part 2 of this text, and it starts from this part, okay, this line. All right, let's start reading. Cousteau and his friend Emily Gagnon created a breathing device they called the Aqua Lung. It was the first machine that would let a diver breathe underwater for a long time. I flew without wings. Now Cousteau was free to explore. A silent world opened up to him. Cousteau bought a boat and turned it into a research lab and film studio. He sailed all over the world. What is a scientist, after all? It's a curious man looking through a keyhole. The keyhole of nature, trying to know what's going on. Cousteau explored the freezing waters of Antarctica and found them filled with penguins, humpback whales, and squid. Jacques Cousteau was the world's king of the oceans. He produced 50 books, 2 encyclopedias, and dozens of documentary films. All right, let's start our explanation. So we said Cousteau and his friend Emily Gagnon created a breathing device they called the Aqua Lung. These tanks contain oxygen, and they help, of course, divers to breathe oxygen. Okay, you can call it Aqua Lung or oxygen tanks. All right, so it was the first machine that would let a diver, as I said, breathe underwater. So this machine is needed to have oxygen underwater for a long time. All right, maybe you'll stay for quarter an hour or 5 minutes or 2 hours, it depends. So when Cousteau tried this feeling, tried diving and breathing underwater, he said, I flew, which is the past of verb to fly, I flew without wings. What a feeling. So he felt like he's flying without having wings, like birds. Now Cousteau was free to explore, to discover. All right, he's free because he can stay underwater for a long time. A silent world opened up to him. Of course, because underwater you don't hear a lot of sounds. So for him, it was a very silent world. Cousteau bought a boat and turned it into a research lab. This is a research lab. It's a place for experimental studies, you know, like when you sometimes go to study science. All right, so the boat was transformed into this lab. So as we said, Cousteau bought a boat and turned it into a research lab and film studio. A film studio is where movies are filmed and made. He sailed all over the world. What is a scientist, after all? It's a curious man. So he said that a scientist is a person who wants to know everything. Curious means that a person who wants to know everything, all right? Someone who really loves knowledge. So it's a curious man looking through a keyhole. Let me show you the keyhole. Here is a keyhole. So he compared a scientist to a man who looks through a keyhole. It's a place where we insert the key in order to open a door. All right? Okay, so the keyhole of nature, trying to know what's going on. So he compared scientists to a person who's so curious, who looks through the keyhole of nature, of course, and he's trying to discover and to know what's going on. How are things done? Which creatures are living there? Cousteau explored the freezing waters of Antarctica. So freezing waters, very cold water. He went and discovered Antarctica. Antarctica, let me show you the picture, is a very cold place in the North Pole. All right, if you can see the penguins here, where a lot of creatures live, like the penguins and other animals that we're going to mention. All right. So he explored the freezing waters of Antarctica and found them filled with penguins, as you have seen. Humpback whales. Let me show you the picture. These are the humpback whales. Okay, huge, colossal fish. All right. What else? Which kind of animals too? And squid. Squid. Squid, it's a sea creature with 8 arms and 2 tentacles. All right? If you can count them, and 2 tentacles. Okay, let's continue. Jacques Cousteau was the world's king of the ocean. So he felt like a king because he has discovered this place for a long time. He produced 50 books. So he made 50 books about the ocean available to people. All right? Maybe he wrote some himself. He produced also 2 encyclopedias. Let me show you encyclopedias. They are books that contain a lot of information, and they are arranged, as you can see, alphabetically. A, B, C, from C to E, from F to H. All right? So, books and encyclopedias, and what else? And dozens of documentary films. Films that explain about animals, nature, creatures, all right? Those films that we can watch sometimes on National Geographic, if you know it. So that's it. This is part 2. I hope that you have understood it. Thank you very much for listening, grade 3. I'm going to attach some exercises about this part. Finish it, complete it, and if you have any questions, you can always communicate with me on the eSchool. Bye-bye.